obviously, that new rule change and the way business as usual was conducted is not at all consistent with that stated purpose.
Why do you suppose they went to such an effort to make that change just before the convention?
Well,
were they afraid of us delegates, or were they?
I don't know that there was. I don't know that there was a great deal of fear, but there was certainly a lot of regard for our numbers.
Yeah.
Shall we put it that way? In that we had been vocal in the Allen County area and throughout the 3rd
District. What
were
they thinking that we might do that they couldn't?
Well, and what really tipped them off, was the fact that there was no form to declare your desire to be a candidate, to be nominated, to go to the National Convention as a delegate. And so we had numbers of us created our own form, had them signed, had them notarized, and had them sent by certified mail so that it was absolutely verified that we had indicated a desire to stand for nomination to be delegates, alternates, and electors. And so there was that, and the deadline was well in advance of when the rule change took place, so they knew what we were about.
They knew, but now did any of the other delegates even know, or were they made aware of all the names of the people that were asking, that submitted those?
Oh, I'm sure they were not.
No.
That was strictly purview of the state committee and the county committee.
As delegates, we didn't even know who wanted to be nominated or who wanted to be a part, let alone have the option to.
Yeah, the only way you would know is if you had actually communicated within your ranks.
Yeah.
And someone was prepared to offer your name in nomination and give a brief 2-minute or up to 2 minutes speech actually describing your qualifications to serve as a delegate, which is permitted under the state rule.
Yeah.
Well, to cook that story all down real fast, because we've got a lot more to tell about the story after a long period of silence, the slate was presented. It was read and offered on the floor of the caucus. The second, all of which was very obviously very prearranged, was all presented. And then the rule change came into effect. And that said, very simply, there is to be no debate and there will be no amendments to the slate. In other words, you can't add any names from the floor. Those two provisos were added very specifically in the rule change inside the 48-hour clock. And so it was, at that point, the only thing that was left to the delegate body to do was to arise, according to the parliamentary rule of Roberts, to a point of order. And that was done timely. And the point of order was gavelled down by the chair. And she continued to insist that the people raise their hands or indicate by saying yea or nay their support of the slate that had been offered. So that one was gavelled down. So then, before anyone would vote, another motion from the floor, this time a point of privilege. A point of privilege is normally reserved for something which is an impending health hazard or something where people's rights are being infringed.
Which this is.
Well, I got to admit, it's a stretch, but I said at that point, we need to stretch.
It's all we got?
It's all we have. So I'm the one who actually proposed a point of privilege from the floor because I felt the rights of the people were being violated. According to Robert's Rules of Order, no matter how nominations are secured, whether it's mail, by a nominations committee, or from the chair, or whoever places names in nominations, Robert's Rules of Order declares that the rights of the minority, in order to be protected, you must always have nominations open to the floor of those people who are going to vote. Well, that makes perfectly good sense. I mean, that is probably the most significant thing about how Robert's Rules of Order protects the rights of the minority. That's how the minority begins to actually influence, is through elections and through the nominating process. And which is why, of course, nominations really don't need a second. What they needed a second for was the fact that it was a committee report, which was, of course, another violation of Robert's Rules. We had on the floor two motions. We had a committee report and a request for approval of a committee report and a slate of officers being placed in nominations. That is a breach of Robert's Rules, to have two motions on the floor at the same time. Be that as it is, the motion, the point of privilege was also